Former Charleston radio personality Jessie B. Turner has moved from radio to social media and marketing. I speak exclusively with Jessie for a special edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores.
Jessie B.
Hello, Quintin.
It's so good to see you.
It's wonderful to see you too. It's been a while.
It has been a while.
Yeah.
Catch me up and tell me what's going on with you.
Well, it's been a whirlwind couple of months, but I am now it's a long title, the Marketing Content and Social Media Coordinator for Kiowa Island Golf Resort.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did Jessie B. Turner and Kiowa Island meet?
Funny story, actually. My husband has worked there for about 7 years.
Oh.
And my mom also works there. So it's kind of a family affair. It's kind of nice. We get to have lunch together. And
yes.
yeah, so it's in my neighborhood. I live on Johns Island.
Yeah.
So I kind of knew some of the faces there already because Nate, or as Bridge listeners know him, Natey Poo, has worked there for so long.
Wow.
So yeah, that's how I kind of got my foot in the door a little, and they had a great opening, and I just had to pounce on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
You talk about the bridge. Where are you emotionally with your decision to ultimately leave?
It was a really tough decision. I'm really happy with where I am now, and that's not to say that I'm not still sad about leaving the bridge and leaving really my family there, because everyone that I worked with really was like a family. But I think with some of the really big changes that were going on there, it was just going to be a different place, a different situation for me, and I needed to look for something else. So it's kind of where I am.
As a matter of fact, you're an old co-worker and obviously co-host, Box.
Yes.
He says some good things about you. He says, quote, "the most marvelous and caring and concerned and real and honest woman he knows. She could take over now, and everybody under her leadership by the weekend would be so excited. They would come to work on Saturday. She's invaluable to what goes on there. Marvelous, caring, concerned, real and honest." Tell me your adjectives to describe Box.
Oh, crazy, zany. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He, Box has always just put himself out there 100%. What he says and how he talks on his now podcast, which I've listened to, that's him. It really is. It's what he thinks and who he is, and he is a little more muted when he's not on air. He's not quite as loud and all over the place when he's just doing his own thing.
Yes.
But that's him. That's who he is, and he has always been probably my number one cheerleader behind my husband and my family. But and he's always said incredibly kind things about me, and it warmed my heart. Now, I don't know if anyone would actually come to work on Saturday. I think he was maybe getting a little over the top there. I'm not going to be getting people to work on a Saturday, but it was very sweet that he said the things that he did. So
That's so good to hear.
yeah.
How did that work? You and Box 6 to 10 every morning.
The only reason that it did work was that we both respected each other enough to give each other space when we needed it,
Sure.
to let the other person say what they needed to, and to also listen when the other person said, "Shut up." Because that needed to happen from time to time. We both respected each other's opinions. I learned, and I know that he's just going to run with this, but I did learn a lot about being, not just having a radio job, but being a personality from him. Because, again, this was, you and I have talked about this before, this is my first, and who's not to say what happens in the future, but gig in radio. I had never worked in radio before, so I didn't know what it meant to really put yourself out there for the public.
Yeah.
And he taught me a lot about what that meant. And then he also respected when I said, "Dude, you were out of line. You need to bring it back in a little bit. What you said was ridiculous," and we worked well together that way.
Wow.
So.
You talk about putting yourself out there. How hard is it to put yourself back to where you were before radio?
Yeah.
Now that you're working for Kia, and you're doing social media work.
Mm-hmm. It's weird. It really is. I miss some of the perks of that. I mean, it comes with perks,
right.
for sure. And I miss meeting all the people that I got to meet. I mean, we wouldn't be here if, I didn't get to be a personality for a while. But what's really crazy is when I'm still walking around town or I'm at work. There have been a couple of instances where I've been at work and some of my new coworkers will like walk into a room or walk by and be like, Jessie B! I'm like, whoa, I didn't know any of you knew who I was. And I still deal with that. Like, I don't know that anybody knows who I am. So it kind of throws me off a little anytime that happens. But, there have been several times, Quintin, I'm not going to lie, when something will come up in the news and I'm like, oh, I wish I had a microphone so I could just tell people what I think about that. Yeah. But it's also kind of nice just knowing that I can, do and say whatever I want and not worry that I'm going to offend anyone because I have to be an on-air persona.
Right.
So, yeah.
Who is Jessie B now?
Oh, goodness. I think that's a ever-evolving answer. That's a loaded question, Quintin. I'm, and I have been for a long time, I'm very content with my life.
Sure.
I have an amazing relationship with my husband. I have great friends. I love living where I live. I love being in Charleston. Yeah. I love being on Johns Island. Yeah. I just take life day by day and kind of see what happens. I'm me, and I've always been just me.
Right.
And Box used to tell me all the time that's why, radio worked, and that's why our show resonated well with people, is that, I'm just me. I'm talking to you just like I would talk on air, and none of that ever changed. What you heard is, what you get right here. So now I just do it behind a tweet or on Facebook or Instagram post.
Right.
So, yeah.
Let me get back to radio. God, from what I understand, everybody's moving over to podcasts. I even have my own iHeart podcast that I'm trying to promote. But what is the future of radio when you think of it?
I think that when all of the craziness happened at the bridge, you heard a lot of people saying, oh, radio's dying anyway, radio's dying. It's not dying. I mean, people just consume things in different ways. So I listen to Spotify, I listen to Pandora, I have for years and years, but I also still turn on my radio when I'm getting ready in the morning. I still tune into the bridge. I listen to the bridge in the morning. Some days I'll flip that over and I'll listen to Box's podcast. I think that the competition for radio is different than it's ever been, if that makes sense. Sure. There are more ways for people to consume their media. So it's, it used to just be print, TV, radio, and people are finding information in different ways. But when you have local radio and when you have, people working for a station that are local, and the Bridge and 98 Rock do that still. Yeah. It's just different local people than it was before. Right. People still want to tune into it, and people still want to hear, what's going on with local traffic. What streets do I have to avoid downtown because it's flooding and I can't get around anywhere? You're going to hear that on radio.
Oh, yes.
You're not going to hear that on a podcast.
Gosh, yeah.
So I think it's going to have to, digital's going to become more of how people consume their music and their radio, and you can, a lot of radio stations have apps and they have digital streaming, so it's just a different way. It may not be on a terrestrial radio, but people are going to listen to radio. Right. So.
And obviously now you're in the world of social media. How's that going? Where's that going in your mind?
Actually, my background is in marketing, and I worked in social media marketing for about 6 years with the Modern Connection here in town. And I had done some social media marketing before I moved to Charleston as well. So I'm kind of just going back around to where I was. I've never worked in-house for a company. So I've never done social media just for, having the one focus. And it's really refreshing being able to do that, versus having, 20 clients that you're working for. But I love it. I love it there. It's an incredibly supportive team. I get to go to work in paradise every day.
Yeah.
Right?
Kiowa.
I get to go to work where people vacation.
Yes.
And you can't beat that.
Right.
I get to go to the beach and take a Insta story of, a beautiful beach day. What's there not to love? But, I'm excited. This is actually a new role for Kiowa. They had been, working as a team to manage their social media marketing in the past, and this is the first time they've ever had somebody dedicated solely to that. Yeah. So it's challenging, and I'm excited for that challenge. I think we're going to do really great things.
I hate to go back to Kiowa again, but let's say if you were to write an article about Kiowa Island to the average traveler, what would it say?
Oh boy, put me on the spot here. Really, it is paradise. It's you drive on into that through that gate, and you have entered an oasis, and they really if you were to stay at that resort, it's from the moment you drive onto the island to the moment you leave, every need is met, and they make sure that you aren't just there to vacation, but you're there to be treated like you're a guest in somebody's home, really. And I think it's amazing. There are people that vacation there every year. There are people that save up 4 years to vacation there, and they want to make sure that everyone who does stay there, feels like they're getting a special experience, and they really do.
That's so good to hear.
Yeah.
I gotta come visit. I've never been to Kiowa Island.
Gorgeous.
I gotta do that too.
Yeah. And something that not a lot of local people know is that there are a lot of restaurants on Kiowa Island that are open to the public. You don't have to be a guest at the resort to eat at any of the restaurants. There are a lot of really great camps and activities and things for kids, and like nature tours and things like that anybody can go and do. You don't have to be a resort guest. So there's a lot of really cool things happening there.
Oh, that's good to hear. Can't wait for more news to come.
Yeah.
Well, Jessie B. Turner, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate this.
Thank you, Quintin. I appreciate you having me.
Anytime. Thank you.
Thanks.